Teresa, we're on.
Can you hear us?
We can hear you.
All right, we're ready to rock and roll.
Awesome. Hi, Judge.
Hey, Kim, what you doing over there?
So Kim, I'll explain, but Kim and Commissioner Patterson are in Buffalo, okay?
Hey, guys.
All right, so I'm going to call this meeting. All right. So welcome, everybody. I am Teresa DeAndrea, counsel to the New York State Athletic Commission and also secretary to the commission. New York State General Business Law, Section 1003, provides that the New York State Athletic Commission shall consist of 5 members appointed by the governor with the advice and consent of the Senate. Pursuant to that law, 3 of the members of the commission shall constitute a quorum for the State Athletic Commission to do business and undertake action. This present meeting of the New York State Athletic Commission is now called to order. I will now call the roll in alphabetical order by last name. Nadidi Massey, Donald Patterson,
Present.
Philip Steeg,
Present.
the Honorable Edwin Torres,
Edwin.
Torres,
That's me.
and James Voswinkle.
Here.
Please let the record reflect that Commissioner Patterson is present at the New York State Department of State Buffalo office, also published in advance to the public. Commissioners Philip Steeg, the Honorable Edwin Torres, and James Voswinkle are present at 123 William Street. A quorum of qualified members is therefore present, enabling transaction of business in accordance with New York State open meetings and general business law. I'll now hand it over to Kim to discuss the first order of business.
Hi, everybody. Thank you again for your time today. We know this was a short notice to make this meeting, but we do appreciate you guys all taking the time to be here. So the second meeting on our agenda, or the second item on our agenda, my apologies, is the discussion and approval of the Commission Bulletin 2019-1 for data tracking chips. Promoters have requested approval from the Commission to be allowed to use data tracking chips and/or sensors, which are secured on the glove of a combatant prior to or during a bout. Of recent, the Professional Fighters League, the PFL, which currently has 3 professional mixed martial arts events scheduled in May and June here in New York State, has requested approval of the Sports Media Technology Corporation, the SMT data tracking chip, for use starting on May 9th at Nassau Coliseum. In order to accommodate requests by promoters for data tracking chips and/or sensors, and to ensure proper vetting, Commission staff have created Commission Bulletin 2019-1 and request implementation by Commission vote. Commission Bulletin 2019-1 states, the Commission may authorize in its sole discretion a licensed promoter to use a data tracking chip and/or sensor, otherwise as known as the chip, of a type approved by the Commission for placement on a combatant's glove in a safe and unobtrusive location prior to and during a bout in New York State. To seek approval for the use of a chip at a Commission-sanctioned event, the promoter must notify the Commission of the request 30 days prior to the bout in writing and must present a chip for Commission approval, along with the process for affixing the chip to the combatant's glove, and any additional information as requested by and to the satisfaction of the Commission. The promoter must notify both combatants assigned to a bout of its request for those combatants to use the same chip no later than the weigh-in, unless otherwise directed by the Commission, with a combatant having a right to opt out of use without penalty. Commission authorization for use of the chip during a specific bout will not be granted unless both combatants agree to each use the same chip during the bout. The written consent of both combatants is provided to the Commission by the licensed promoter, and the Commission finds that the use of the chip is in furtherance of the best interests of the combative sports and will not adversely impact the health and safety of any combatant, the integrity of the competition, or the integrity of the glove itself. Commission staff must observe the placement and attachment of a chip to the glove before a bout to the satisfaction of the Commission, which reserves its right not to allow the use of a chip during a bout and/or event. Under no circumstances will the action of a bout be delayed or stopped due to the malfunction of any chip in use. In the event that a chip becomes dislodged or falls out, the referee shall call time during a lull in the action of the bout to remove it from the ring. Under no circumstance will the action of a bout be delayed or stopped to replace or reposition a chip. A list of Commission-approved data tracking chips and/or sensors shall be maintained on our website. As stated in Commission in the Commission Bulletin 2019-1, a combatant will have to sign a written authorization agreeing to use the promoter's data tracking chip during a bout. Both combatants have to agree to use the same chip, or the Commission will not authorize the use of a chip during a bout. A combatant can opt out without penalty. To ensure compliance, the Commission has before it a consent to use data tracking chip and or sensor during a New York State sanctioned bout form for its review. As a matter of record, Commissioner Massey unfortunately was called away to a last-minute meeting, so was not able to make it here today. The Commissioner expressed her disappointment that she was not able to vote by proxy, but would like to share her opinion on the matters up for vote today. Her words regarding the data tracking chips bulletin. I am in favor of this bulletin as it allows us the ability to stay current with technology, specifically data tracking chips. Further, the Commissioner's words regarding the consent form to use data tracking chips. I am in favor of using this form for all fighters, as this allows the fighter the ability to opt in or out and emphasizes NYSAC's commitment to ensure fighter safety. May I have a motion to approve Commission Bulletin 2019-1 data tracking chips pursuant to New York State rules and regulations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion on the motion to approve the Commission Bulletin 2019-1? Motion carries.
Talking about
Commission
this chip
Bulletin.
business?
Oh, sorry.
You
Yes.
talking about the chip?
Yes, sir.
All right.
The policy. Yes.
I'm unreservedly opposed. Note that.
Thank you, Judge. We do have a motion and a carry. So the motion carries. Commission Bulletin 2019-1 is approved. Just moving on to agenda.
Note my dissent.
Your dissent's noted. It will be noted in the minutes. Sorry, Kim, continue.
No, that's fine.
Do we have a discussion of why he's dissenting?
Sure. Do you want to provide why you're dissenting, Judge?
That'd be a long preparation. I'm
Okay.
just opposed to anything newfangled as this, complicated enough. No, I've been watching the game since the 1930s, okay? I'm unreservedly opposed to this chip in the glove and the malfunctioning of it. How did it? No.
Okay.
Complicated. We don't, the sport doesn't need it. I'm opposed, unreservedly.
Okay. It'll be noted.
And ignored.
No, we don't ignore you.
Ridiculous.
Moving on to, bullet point number 3. This is the discussion and approval of the Sports Media Technology Corporation data tracking chip itself. Now that the Commission Bulletin 2019-1 has been approved and implemented by Commission vote today, we now turn to discussion and approval of the Sports Media Technology Corporation data tracking chip, the SMT chip, requested by the PFL for use at the start of its season on May 9th here in New York State. The SMT chip has been approved by Commission staff. Of importance, the SMT chip is light and unobtrusive. The chip's measurements are 1.5 inches by 3/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch. The SMT chip is approved in other jurisdictions where PFL holds its events, including Nevada, New Jersey, and California, as well as Illinois and Louisiana. The PFL has not had a state decline its request to use the SMT chip during an event. Commission staff has received and reviewed letters of support from New Jersey and California. The SMT chip has not presented any additional safety concerns. The PFL has encountered no incidents of the SMT chip causing any damage and or injury since its use at events.
Can't go in.
The data collected is for PFL internal use only, mainly to enhance its broadcasting. The SMT chip collects data on punches thrown, not landed, the speed of the punch thrown, fighter location inside the cage, and the distance traveled by the fighter within the cage. The SMT chip does not collect and cannot determine the force of impact or anything about the quality or position of a strike. Again, as a matter of record, Commissioner Massey's comments regarding the sports media technology data tracking chip. I'm in favor of approving this chip. I have physically seen and touched the chip. I've heard from fighters and trainers, and I've been involved in conversations with physicians and others regarding this chip. Is there a motion to approve the Sports Media Technology Corporation data tracking chip?
Question first, is that okay?
Yes. Yes,
Is
absolutely.
this the chip that we looked at the last meeting, yes?
Yes.
Can I
Yeah.
actually clarify that, Kim? This is Jim Bramson from PFL here.
Yes. Hi, Jim.
The chip that you have right here is the next version of the chip. This is a prototype version that is not in final manufacturing form. SMT is producing a more polished version of it based upon the one that we had last year, which you saw, which was a final manufactured form. This one will be manufactured for the fight that's coming up in May, and has additional tracking capability associated with it.
Because it looked different to me, and that's why I'm saying. So, just from the legal standpoint, can we actually approve a chip? You tell me. You're the lawyer. Can we approve the concept of the chip? Can we approve this chip, but that's not the one they're going to use? What are the implications of that?
Right. I mean, it's really up to the commission to what they want to do here. Has this chip been approved anywhere else? I guess
In California, this chip was used last week in bouts in California under the supervision of Andy Foster, who also supervised our bouts last year with the technology.
Do you have the old
Could we-
chip with you too?
I do.
Could we make a proviso stating that the dimensions, size, and weight of
The size and specs are the same.
the specs are the same, then we approve.
Then we approve.
Yeah, that's
we
yeah.
approve a chip
Yeah.
with the estimated size and specs.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the only stipulation I would do just to protect
Same size
us.
or smaller than this one
Okay.
that is right here.
Correct.
I mean, I just want to protect us.
Yes. No, I hear you.
I would prefer that we say a chip that is no larger.
Right.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay.
Yep.
And that, Ken, just for the record, that would be actually fine with us. We will be reducing the size of this chip over the course of the manufacturing process.
Okay.
Is
Okay,
this
great.
an appropriate juncture for me to oppose?
All right. We're about to take the vote.
Yeah.
So-
All right.
Yes.
Unequivocally.
Same reasons as
Yeah.
before? Okay.
Well, let's do the vote.
Okay, Kim. Take it to the
Uh,
vote.
May I have a motion to approve the Sports Media Technology
So
Corporation
moved.
data tracking chip?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Go ahead, Don.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion to approve the Sports Media Technology Corporation data tracking chip?
I register my opposition to this, same as I did the other one, for the same reason.
Right.
It's ridiculous. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Well, okay, so the motion carries. Sports
And
Media
I vote yes.
Technology. Thank you. Sports Media Technology Corporation data tracking chip is approved.
Okay.
I can't believe this.
Which brings us to our fourth item on the agenda, the discussion and approval of the Commission Bulletin 2019-2 for boxing shoe accessories. Last order of business before the Commission on today's agenda is discussion and approval of the Commission Bulletin 2019-2 boxing shoe accessories. Commission staff has encountered scenarios where a professional boxer is wearing tassels around his or her shoe, which typically fall off during the course of the bout and create a potential safety concern inside the ring, and or can distract the referee, who now has to remove these fallen off tassels from inside the ring. Once that round ends, the commission staff have to then instruct the boxer's cornermen to cut off the tassels before the next round begins. Commission staff finds that it is in the best interest of boxing to have a policy in place regarding boxing shoe accessories so that NYSAC staff can preemptively inspect and secure any adornments like tassels before the boxer enters the ring. Commission staff have thus created and request a commission vote for implementation of Commission Bulletin 2019-2. Commission Bulletin 2019-2 states, in addition to 19 NYCRR Section 211.11 for ring costumes, no accessory hanging off of or around a boxing shoe that is not permanently affixed and or taped to the satisfaction of the Commission, including but not limiting to tassels and other adornments, shall be allowed during a bout unless otherwise prescribed by the Commission. Commissioner Massey's comments regarding the boxing shoe accessories bulletin. I'm in favor of this bulletin as I believe it will help us maintain safety for our fighters. Is there a motion to approve the Commission Bulletin 2019-2 boxing shoe accessories pursuant to the New York State rules and regulations?
Motion.
Is there a second? Great. Is there any discussion on the motion to approve Commission Bulletin 2019-2?
What constitutes? Oh, go ahead.
I have no problem with this particular issue, but I think I should register a protest on behalf of my compatriot, Hector Camacho, the deceased.
What constitutes permanently affixed? I mean, is this a judgment that's going to be made at the ring by the referee or who? I mean,
No. This would be a judgment that's made by our inspectors back at house before they even make it out to the ring. So they're going to look at anything that has the potential to fall off in the ring. And if there's a potential for it to fall off, they're either going to ask the boxer to remove it or they're going to have the boxer to affix it more permanently by using tape or any other such type,
So I'm presuming that the tassels that have been used in the past are part of their shoestrings? And would that...
a decoration around the shoe.
Yeah, they're generally,
Sewn on the side.
That's what I'm saying. So if something is sewn onto the shoe, wouldn't that be considered permanently affixed? I just, it's nebulous language. That's the only reason what's going to constitute it?
Well, if it's sewn, we're probably going to make it be taped or cut off because every time someone has, typically, when someone has tassels, they fall off during a ring. So it needs to be either cut off or taped. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's understood?
Yeah,
and I think that, to the satisfaction of the commission is what the operative language is going to be in this. If we're not satisfied that it's not going to fall off, then we're going to have them affix it either remove it or affix it in a way that it's not going to fall off.
There's usually been a judgment call. They enter, sometimes they're wearing that on the shoe, and during the course of the fight, second, third round, it starts coming off. Usually because the other person steps on it or something like that, and then it starts ripping off, and then it's flying around in the ring.
Oh, I get all that. I mean, it just seems to me that as well
Safety measure, right? That's what we're talking about.
I would just say either do or don't. Because this is nebulous, permanently affixed, but you're telling me somebody has them sewn on. I would consider that permanently affixed.
I think
but it's going to come off.
I think Kim can add this, but I think the way we'll probably put this in place will be that right in the locker room we'll just say no, this has to come off.
And it's to provide some sort of notice because we have no notice now on tassels. So it's really putting the power in the commission to regulate the tassels because we don't have any regulation or anything on it. So it's going to put everyone on notice that we can regulate that.
Yeah, and
that's really the
obviously,
point.
I'm okay because it says not permanently affixed and or taped to the satisfaction of the commission.
Right.
So the point is, the and tape to our satisfaction, I think will assure that it is permanently affixed in that comparison.
Right.
Any further discussion? Great.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Yes.
Motion carries. Sorry?
No, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries and Commission Bulletin 2019-2 is approved. Teresa?
Okay.
All right. Do any commissioners have items they'd like to present for consideration today?
I do, please.
Okay, continue.
Okay, continue. All right. So I gave you guys sort of a handout of the topic I'd like to bring forward. As most of us know, we recently had a training, and it was a great turnout. A lot of doctors, inspectors, deputy commissioners, leadership, and everybody was there. I think there's been tremendous advancements that New York State has done for the safety of the fighters, as well as the care that's provided. There is a nationally accredited course called PreHospital Trauma Life Support. It's a course that's given by the National Association of Emergency Medical Technicians, and it's a course that's given in cooperation with the American Colleges Committee on Trauma. It is sort of basically the gold standard course worldwide, and you can see from some of the literature I've given you for pre-hospital trauma care. In having discussions with the physicians at the meeting, we've sort of decided, and I'm going to ask Nitin to comment further, to have the physicians take this course, weigh in on it, and to see if it's something we want to advance to sort of mandate for physicians to take. I think it is a huge advancement. I think it's something to further advance and standardize the care that we give out at ringside, which is a pre-hospital setting. Nitin, do you want to make some comments?
Yeah, so right now, the way we are staffed at events, usually we have anywhere between 5 to 7 doctors at every event. We have 1 to 2 ambulances, and we have a full-fledged EMS or EMT crew, and we have one level one trauma hospital on backup. So among the 5 or 7 doctors who are there ringside, we have a good number of physicians who are ED physicians. So we're pretty well. We have usually a mixture of doctors. We'll have we'll have a neurologist in me. We'll have an one or two ED physicians. We'll have orthopedic surgeons. So pretty much we try to cover all the injuries we might encounter, like in an MMA event or a boxing event. But I personally support what Commissioner Waswinkle is saying. The more training we get as physicians, the better we become. And so our plan was, if you agree, that we get a core group of doctors initially to take this. That'll include me, Angela, maybe 4 or 5 more physicians. We report back to you, we can report back to Kim, and if we feel this is training good for our physicians, we'd like to get all the physicians certified.
Right. It's another way to describe these courses is it gives the core common language in trauma care. So since you have varying medical professionals, the lowest ranking being EMT, the highest ranking being a physician on the scene, what these courses do, and the in-hospital course is called ATLS, which is Advanced Trauma Life Support. So essentially, if you're a physician, no matter what specialty, and you're taking care of a patient in an emergency room, Advanced Trauma Life Support is designed to be that core language when we're treating with trauma patients.
Do the EMTs do ATLS?
No, they do not. ATLS is a hospital-based course.
So the question, I don't disagree with the concept. I'm thinking more along the lines of just what's the hierarchy. If somebody starts coding in the ring, who's going to manage? Is the EMT going to manage that, or the doc?
The way it happens is, in every event, we'll have 1 or 2 physicians on each corner.
Yep.
Our assistant chief medical officer usually sits on the commission table. I usually take one of the corners where I feel the fighter is most likely to get injured.
Right.
So if somebody goes down in the ring or the cage, the doctors from each corner enter the ring or cage.
Yeah.
I usually enter, so we usually have around 2 or 3 doctors inside very quickly.
Right.
We try to stabilize our fighter in the ring. If for some reason we quickly determine that he needs to be medically evacuated from the ring, we will ask the EMS personnel to come inside the ring.
Would you ever intubate somebody in the ring?
Our usual protocol is we'll not attempt intubation in the ring. We will get them out of the ring. Before the fight, we have mapped out a medical evacuation route to the ambulance bus. We'll get them on the way right there, and during the course of that,
Would they get intubated in the medical van?
If we need to, we will. But
And who would do that? The EMTs.
Either the EMTs or the physicians who are there.
Correct. So, just to for the record,
I'm trying to sort about how the division of labor has been worked out, and then the second question is liability.
The division of labor is the EMS crew or the EMT crew will only enter the ring or cage on the advice of the doctor inside the ring or cage. That's the time we'll call them inside. Mm-hmm. Once they come inside, the down fighter is going to be transferred onto the backboard, get him out of the ring or cage, get him right to the ambulance, because and during that process, we stop at an area. If we need to intubate him, we'll intubate him, or in the bus. And we get right to the level 1 trauma center.
So, for the record, Dr. Steve, I just briefly, if you know, I want to read what they actually publish. So it says, NAEMT's PreHospital Trauma Life Support is recognized around the world as the leading continuing education program for pre-hospital emergency trauma care. The mission of PHTLS is to promote excellence in trauma patient management by all providers involved in the delivery of pre-hospital care. PHTLS is developed by NAMT in cooperation with the American College of Surgeons Committee on Trauma. The committee provides the medical direction and the content oversight for the PHTLS course. PHTLS courses improve the quality of trauma care and decrease mortality. The program is based on a philosophy stressing the treatment of the multi-system trauma patient as a unique entity with specific needs. PHTLS promotes critical thinking as the foundation for providing quality care. It is based on a belief that a good fund of knowledge and key principles, EMS practitioners are capable of making reasoned decisions regarding patient care. The course utilizes international recognized PHTLS textbook and covers the following topics. Phil,
like I said earlier, I'm not disagreeing with the concept. I just, I don't know who's sitting on the ring side, and if it's somebody. That's why I asked about intubation. If somebody's going to get intubated in the ring, which sounds to me like you're going to try to avoid, But if you need to, do I want somebody like you who hasn't intubated somebody in 20 years, or an ENT guy who's probably done it last week?
Let me explain to the judge and you a little bit more. So, like I said, in any big fight, we have about 5 to 7 ringside physicians assigned to the fight. They're all coming from very varied backgrounds, but we like to have usually 1 or 2.
So it's like the NFL, you got one person responsible for neck stability, one person
So
for
among those
intubation.
physicians, one physician is designated as to be the emergency physician.
Yep.
He or she, before the start of the fight, goes through the entire emergency protocol.
Yep.
We have everything laid down. But answering to your question, ringside we have just the backboard, we have oxygen, we have a seat collar.
Yep.
So the idea is not to intubate in the ring or the cage, get the fighter out, get him on the gurney. On the gurney we have all the equipment, and if we need to intubate, we'll intubate either on the gurney or when you're near the bus.
I have one query.
Yes, Judge.
You know the status of that Polish heavyweight that underwent, got the massive lawsuit, that was injured in the Madison Square Garden? Brain damage.
In 2013, sir?
Pardon?
In 2013?
Yes,
the
I
man
was
who
there.
fought- Yes, I
Shows you how deceptive this is, because
Right.
I remember his coming around
Right.
to ringside where we were. He
Right.
was a big heavyweight. He never got knocked down.
Right.
Next thing you know, he couldn't get it. There was no he didn't want to get in the ambulance, as I recollect.
Right.
I think he took a cab or a private car,
Right.
and then he lapsed into this incredible
So,
coma.
so Judge, for
You
that,
know what is the stat? What
yeah,
is his status?
His status, as I'm aware of, is the fact that he is obviously
Brain damage?
He has significant neurological
Permanent.
significant neurological deficits. That means he has a lot of problems neurologically.
Is that a permanent condition?
Sir, I can't opine on that. I've not seen him, but he definitely has a lot of neurological deficits. That's what I know about it.
So,
But to address some of those concerns, our protocols were changed. We have a red flag policy where we monitor these fighters.
But there was no way to discern or see what had happened. It was
Right.
it's the name of the game.
Well,
He
neuro-
walked out. He never was on
But
his feet.
how is that germane to this?
yes. So as I said, as
My
a,
idle curiosity.
no,
Okay.
no. As
You know, right
a
by you.
listen, as a trauma medical director, I think that there's a very solid, good program in place. The red flag policy that I think is tremendous. There's dedicated protocols and personnel in place to really see. Should somebody immediately go to a hospital? Should they be observed
Yeah,
and followed?
If I may say so,
I mean,
a
I
lot of
fully
those-
support what you're doing.
A lot of those loopholes and even this thing, we are putting so many things now to protect the fighters.
Correct.
The level 1 trauma center is called. We know that the neurosurgeons are on backup. We have doctors who come in from very different fields. Everybody's been trained in all the procedures.
Right.
I think this extra training will make us even better, as Commissioner is saying. It'll standardize the training, so I think
Sure.
it's good.
Yeah, and as I said, just to finish for the record, PHTLS is the global gold standard in pre-hospital trauma education. It's taught in 64 countries. It's appropriate for EMTs, paramedics, nurses, physician assistants, physicians, and other pre-hospital providers. So I just see this as potentially an advancement of a process that's in place, which I think is very comprehensive now. But once again, we'll bring a
But
bunch
does
of
it
groups of
transfer
doctors.
liability from the EMS service, which is not under the purview of this group, to this group if somebody
I
underperforms?
don't think once again it affects any of that. All this is additional training.
Training.
That's
my
all I believe it
understanding,
is.
too.
And additional education and learning more and developing a common language, I don't think really changes liability in any which way.
We'll look into it, though.
That's the only thing I'd be thinking about.
Okay. Understood.
Okay,
Just a bigger
And
loss.
as I said, I don't.
I will look into it.
Teresa, this doesn't belong in note. This is just informational purposes.
Absolutely. New business that we will vet.
Correct, Kim? No vote, just informational.
Absolutely.
purposes.
No vote. Yep. Yeah, but I think it's a great idea that Nit and Eng and a couple of other doctors go and give us their opinions. I think that's important to this.
Is there any other new business? No new business? Okay. And there was no old business from the February 28th,